Hello there. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly and it's time to hop. It's the second Friday of the month where I get together with 8 other crafty ladies and we each do our take on the same sketch. So we have this really cute sun ray sketch that was chosen by Michelle Schmidt and it's from Page Maps. She said that the theme was Bon Voyage and I'm already changing that up a little bit. However, I wanted to show you a little bit about making sun rays. So when I started scrapbooking, as simple as it might seem, I had no idea how to make the angled pieces. So you essentially pick a central spot on your paper and then you can make them 2 inches, 1 inch, 1/2 inch, and you can simply draw tick marks all the way around the square and draw your lines and cut out your angles. You can also use a circle. Pick a central dot on the circle and then create rounded rays around the circle. Now this one actually has about 7 rays. I want to show you how to just quickly and easily make those rays by hand. So I've started out, I think I actually started with 2 3/4 or 3 inches. It was a little over 3 inches and I end up cutting it down to 2.5 because the rays were too large, but I'm actually just picking a point, maybe about 1 inch in on either side. You could go 3/4 of an inch to make angled pieces. And then you can fussy cut that out and you get a master ray. One of the reasons that I like to do it this way is it's so fast and easy. And then you can lay it on any scrap of paper that you have and make them as long or as short as you like. Instead of taking up one whole sheet of paper, making all of your rays out of one, you can lay the cutout ray just on a scrap of paper and get what you need. You can angle it more, you can cut off the tip. There are so many things that you can do. Now I also want to show you, if you go into your Cricut and you simply type sun rays, look at all the sun rays that are already done for you. You can also put long triangle. If you put long triangle in the description box, you get all kinds of angled triangles. You can unlock them, stretch them, move those downward. There are so many things that you can do to create your angled pieces and to create interest. You can also pull a longer triangle out of your basic shapes, grab a square, select both the triangle and the square, and slice the tip off of a triangle. Now that one would be way more symmetrical, but you could actually tilt the square on the bottom, select both pieces, hit the slice tool, and slice that bottom off at an angle. So no matter how you make your sun rays, whether by hand or by drawing out your angles or by creating those on the Cricut, you need about 7 sun rays. Then I see here that they've used an 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to stretch that to 12 by 12 and I'm going to actually use 2 photos that are several years old, and I have 2 grandsons out of 8 grandchildren, Carter Kirk and Waylon James, and they are 11 years apart. These are my 6 youngest grandchildren and we're actually out at the park. So we have a Waylon James, we have Ramsey, Kate, Claire, Adeline, Hattie Elaine, Avery Jean, and Carter Kirk. And they're just casual snapshots. But I think that I can use those in the place of the 2.5 by 3.5. I think it's 2.5 by 4. So I'm going to do 3.5 by 5 with an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch photo mat white willow. So I'm going to be using the Turtley Cute or Turtley Awesome pattern papers here. There's lots of greens in the background. We have crushed curry in the slide. We have blue in there. We have a little poppy parade in the base of the slide. So we have all the colors. I actually used Turtley Awesome or Turtley Cute, the scrapbooking workshop, and I created a summer layout with Waylon James diving, and I thought I might like to keep the summer theme throughout this workshop. I also used all of the back sides of these papers in a Disney workshop earlier this year. Now, I love that we have greens, we have the green stripes. We really only have one hero paper that actually is turtle specific. All of the other patterns lend themselves to generic or general or birthday. So we have some dots and sprinkles. We have this great crushed curry pattern here with another multi pattern on the back, and we have some cloud specialty paper as well. I think it's going to work great. I still have stickers and icons left, and I've sorted out those stickers and icons in like beachy, safari, birthday. I do think that little turtle on his back with the sign that says "Fun This Way" would work great for this layout. So there's a strip or a stripe strip across the top on the original sketch, and I'm originally thinking maybe this green stripe is very obvious. I do think later that I go with the multicolored stripe just to pull in some of the colors. Now I'm sort of pulling out all the patterns that I think are going to work for the sun rays or the rays. So I'm looking at my colors. I've got a little red, I've got a little blue, I've got a little orangey, or it could pass as crushed curry. There's a little bit of yellow in the background in the merry-go-round or the teeter-totter, I think it is. There's some tan in there. There are a lot of options for sun rays in this. So now I'm actually going to use the sun ray and I'm going to trace it. I'm not going to need, most of the sun rays are not going to need to be near this long. So I could actually cut them shorter and use smaller pieces of scraps up to be able to create it this way. This isn't going to be a hard one today. This is an easy layout to put together, so we might try to come up with some techniques or some, different things that we can try that can jazz it up just a little bit. So now I have all of the pieces that I've decided to create those sun rays out of. So we have green graph, we have the crushed curry dot, we have a green stripe, we have a multi-stripe, we have a multi-dot, and then I've brought in two card stocks, the Poppy Parade and the Pool Party. So I'm going to grab some embossing folders, and I think that the two card stocks should be embossed for some texture and just some added technique. So I went ahead and decided on the 3D plaid embossing folder for one of those, and the distressed paint, I think it's called. I'll link it in the description. I always forget the name of it, but it's sort of concrete looking or brushed paint looking, and it has a lot of depth in it. So I ran those through the embossing machine, and I love that. That's going to give us, a little bit of added texture in there and just elevate the page a little bit. I'm going to run over both of those with a sanding block because that two-toned white core cardstock is perfect for being able to do distressing on it and add even more technique. I think it's kind of fun to add little tiny, easy, fast treatments to existing papers, especially when it's an easy layout to do. So I'm going to add the white gel pen to one of those, and then I think I'm going to be done. And I decide actually to add journaling lines with a black journal pen on some of them as well. I end up adding the black journal pen to the multi-dot, the crushed curry dot, and the multi-stripe, and then the white gel pen to the green graph. And I think that's just tiny little things that add up to a big difference. So next I want to arrange my rays so that I have one that's a little more muted with one that's maybe a little more busy, another one that's a little muted with another one that's a little busy, kind of go back and forth. I decide that I do want to end with the multi-stripe on the bottom to coordinate with the multi-stripe strip on the top. So each of the rays are about 2.5 inches in width, and then they vary in length. And then up at the top, that multi-stripe is 1/2 by 12. I might put some kind of a transition in there. And if you notice on the page maps sketch, some of the tops are slanted and some of the tops are straight. Now I think I'm probably going to end up putting the photo with Carter Kirk and Waylon James maybe on the left. Right now I have the other one on the left, but I think I want the one with all of the grands stacked in a row on the right, and then I'll maybe pop up one with foam tape in the background and then leave one of those photos flush. Now I'm going to bring in an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch strip of Poppy Parade cardstock just to help that pop a little bit. And then I think I'm also going to add another 1/4 inch photo mat in Poppy Parade behind both of the photos. If I didn't already say it, the photos are 3.5 by 5. Now I think the Art of Texture stamp, I'm going to dig in my stash. It has some little splotches. And I think I could maybe do crushed curry splotches or pool party splotches with the splotch stamp inside that Art of Texture, just to add a little jazz to the page around the edges. Now, when in doubt and when you're not sure, rather than ruining your whole layout, always grab scrap paper. So I tried a couple of the splotches or the blotches in Pool Party and Crushed Curry on a piece of scrap paper. I'm going to grab my all-purpose mat here, and I'm going to flick a little bit of marker there over the top. So I'm going to try it both ways. I'm going to do a little bit of the crushed curry splatter over the Pool Party splotch, and then I'll try a little bit of the Pool Party splatter over the crushed curry splotch and sort of decide what I think. I actually go with a little bit of a combination. So I add the splotches with crushed curry, and then I add the splatter with Pool Party, and then I come back in and add some more Pool Party splotches. And it just adds a little bit of, you know, added treatment, added technique, added jazz to just elevate your page a little bit, and it just takes minutes. I really love that technique. I am going to make sure to put my all-purpose mat behind because I'm splattering with the marker. The marker does come off, but it doesn't come off as readily as ink. And so I don't want to get that on my countertop. And then when you're splattering, press a little bit of the brush part of your Stampin' Blend marker into the cap and get a little bit of free liquid in there. And then you'll have a little bit easier of a time, and you can get a little bit more bigger splotches. Now, when I look at the original sketch, it has some little swirlies or some little added, you know, pieces that are coming out from the rays. So I just dug back in my stash and found some old little border pieces, and I cut one of those in Poppy Parade and one of those in Garden Green, and I think that those are going to make that nice little added extra. So I'm adding my strips and actually assembling the layout now. And then I'm going to rearrange. So of course I didn't take a snap of how I had them, and I had the rays the way I wanted them, and then now my memory is failing me. So I'm just going to rearrange again to something that alternates. Now I realize I only have 6 of them here, and then I realize that one of my rays is over off to the side, so I do some rearranging again. So we're going to level these so that we have some a little bit down, some a little bit up, down, up, down, up. And then I do actually want to have one that's a little more straight across in the middle. And I don't actually end up achieving that, but I like the way it curves once I get to my final answer. So one of the reasons these photos aren't even the most, you know, fantastic photos, but the reason that I love these photos and I wanted to document these photos is I took the 5 younger grands to the park. And then when we were at the park, Carter Kirk, the one of the actually kind of middle grands, was at the park doing the mowing because he was in charge of mowing the park that year. And he came over, and the younger grands absolutely idolize him. He is just so much fun, and he will stop anything he's doing to have fun with them and lift them up and run after them and give them piggyback rides and make them happy. So he stopped his mowing and came over and played with the littles. And I love it that even though there's 11 years between Waylon James and Carter Kirk, Carter still takes time for Waylon James anytime he sees him. And I already know, even though it's many years away, that Carter is going to be the best dad. He is, let's see, is he 14? He's going to turn 15 in October. Can that be possible? And he's going to be a great dad. Here this is like 2 or 3 years ago, so he's a little bit younger here, but he's still just as loving and wonderful and kind to all of the littles. So now I've rearranged my photos. I have the one with all of them on the slide is nice and flush. I've popped up with foam tape the one of Carter Kirk and Waylon James. And now I'm just going to add those little decorative strips in there randomly. And I feel bad that I really didn't have anything Bon Voyage. Michelle wanted us to do Bon Voyage, and I'm literally like, I have nothing. Like, I thought right away of like a cruise or a trip, and I just didn't have anything. And so I've just had to adjust and go with outdoor grands. You guys know that my life is my grands right now at this phase of my life, and it's easy for me to come up with tons of grand photos, but you can see how easy this would be to adjust this to any patterns, and you could very easily make this work with Bon Voyage or any other theme. So now I'm going to pull out my junk gypsy tray and all of my stickers and see if I can make some of my existing things work. I don't want to do a lot of heavy lifting. I really don't want to have to do a lot of die cutting or extra stamping. We already did our really cute splatter in the background. I want to make it easy, and I want to use what I have. So of course in the sketch there's a journal spot, and I have a couple great options here with Turtley Cute. I have this Puppy Parade journal piece with the scalloped bottom, and then I also have a white one here, but the white one sort of is bland and it sort of just blends in. I also show on the original sketch a little cluster on the corner, but this sticker is so large, I think I can get by with this sticker. I just want to pull a few of the rays back out again because I did a little work on those. Like, I did a little bit of sanding on those and a little bit of embossing on those and a little doodling on those. So I really don't want to cover all of those rays up with that corner sticker, but I do love this little turtle on his back, and the little bird is on his head, and it reminds me of sliding. And I feel like since they're going down the slide and they're on the slide, that's a perfect little corner turtle that's going to just fit perfect. And it says fun this way. And I love that I have really none of the grands except Avery Jean that are really looking forward, maybe Carter Kirk. All the rest of them are giggling, looking down, looking one direction, hugging each other, and it's just the way the monkeys are. So I like that can be the way that this is, and that I can make that work, these photos work, even though they're not perfect. So I'm sort of playing around here. There's a couple little tabs, there's a couple little slanted pieces, there's a little banner, there's some half circles. All of these come in the Turtley Cute, and they're punch outs. And I think some people who weren't really into the turtles were really nervous about the Turtley Cute scrapbook workshop. But honestly, there's a few turtle stickers, and there's one back side of turtle paper. All the rest of the papers are very generic, and they could work for so many things. And that's why I'm using mine for summer. And all the punch outs are also generic. You've got some plus sign punch outs, some stripes, you've got some some dots, you've got half circles, you've got some little tabs, you've got some little birds, there are some cake, there's balloons. There's so many things that lend themselves to summer, to birthday, to hiking, to camping. It's actually way more versatile than even what I thought when I first looked at this workshop. I saw the turtles, and then I had a preconceived notion that everything was going to be turtles. Now, on the paper pack, the DSP, there are a lot of turtle papers in that. However, the backsides have more muted tones on them, and that's why I used those for my Disney workshop. The backsides worked perfectly for my Disney workshop. So I'm just going to do a little covering up here and a little clustering. I'm adding 2 half circles to the corner of the journal spot. I've added that crushed curry little banner piece to the top left of the photo on the left, and that cute little red bird on top, Puppy Parade bird on top, and then the banner up in the left-hand corner as a filler. On the original sketch, it just has some little bits and pieces on the lower left. I'm going to add a little 1/2 inch stripe strip piece there and a half circle on the top, and then we have these great little hexagon shapes that obviously might have been designed because of the turtle shape, but they're really, really cute. We have all different shades of green, so I'm just going to add the bling with that, and I'm getting happy. I love that we were able to really jazz up a super simple page. I showed you 2 or 3 different ways that you could get your sun rays. We jazzed up the page by adding journal lines with a white gel pen, journal lines with a black marker. We added a little bit of foofs and speckles and splotches in the back with the textured stamp set, and a splatter with the markers, with the Stampin' Blend markers, and we added a little journaling and a little bit of bling. And I think we made a fun, colorful layout that did the sketch justice. I love that we were able to add some texture with some embossing folders. If you've never tried embossing folders, you definitely should. There's such a great way to add added technique and texture to your layout. I hope you'll hit like, subscribe, the notifications bell, shoot me a comment, and definitely check out all 8 other videos and their take on this cute sketch.